So one of our best speakers that we've had, most accomplished speakers that we've had, is going to come up and do a little kickoff for us and do a little workshop, I think. I'll call it a workshop. Is that cool? All right. I don't introduce our guests. You know that. So you're just going to have to come up and do this. Welcome to Keystone Sessions, Session 1. Gwen Gillette.
So my name is Gwen Gillette. I'm the founder of Social Phantom. And wait, Kevin, don't leave for this. Just don't leave for 1 second. Okay, but you can eat in a second. I just wanted to say that the first time I spoke up here was on December 28th, and I knew almost nobody in the room except for Cody and Zeke. I had shook hands with Kevin one time. And now I know pretty much every one of you, at least you have a familiar face. And I just want to say that I think that that is so cool to the community that Kevin is creating. And I finally have found a place in KC where I feel like I belong. And so I just wanted everybody to give Kevin a round of applause for the amazing stuff that he does here. Now you can eat. And so I'm going to stand over here because it's easier for me to do my presentation from over here. But yeah, so I actually, after my presentation on the 28th, I was able to generate enough business to start my company. So we are 5 months in, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that story has been going. So real quick, so you know what we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about how AI is the answer to a lot of your problems, particularly in the marketing space. Then we're going to talk about AI detection, myth versus fact. So there's some stuff that goes around about whether or not AI-generated content can be detected, so we're going to talk about that. Then I'm going to talk about prompt engineering, what you need to know, how to do it, those types of things, and then AI tools for content creation, so that's like the nitty-gritty part of the workshop. So real quick, most of you probably know this, but I used to be an AI engineer that worked in manufacturing. So I was building algorithms to analyze supply chain and logistics. So I did a lot of analysis on open source consumer data, which a lot of that resides on social media. So that is how I transitioned into actually being a social media strategist. I'm much more of a people person, so doing social media made me a lot happier than coding behind a computer all day. So this was my mindset going into creating a social media company. I was like, I'm going to throw away my developer mindset. It's kind of like when you take an exam and then you forget everything after the exam. That was like my mindset. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm never going back to it. I was very burnt out. And I was like, I'm going to get clients and then I'm going to execute on creating content for those clients. And that went about as chaotically as this picture on my left, your guys' right, looks up here. So then I had 7 clients. We were making 2 pieces of content a day across 4 different platforms. So that's 56 pieces of content per day that I was trying to make on my own. So then this is a to-do list for every piece of content. So idea creation, scripting content, creating the content, editing the content, captioning the content, posting the content, and then analyzing its performance. So that's a lot of steps. The highlighted steps are the ones that I can pay someone else to do. So like there are people that you can pay pretty easily without training them to post content. Same for editing content. So those are the ones that I am able to build a team around. The rest of this stuff is a little bit harder to train. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of intuition. So that left me with essentially 5 steps that I was doing on my own. So this is actually 4 by 4 times 56, which because the first step of idea creation doesn't apply to every piece of content. Once you have one idea, you can kind of change that idea for each platform. So that left me with 224 steps a day that I had to do on my own for each piece of content we were creating. So at first that looked like this. I was super excited, happy to have a business, happy to be growing, just doing the grind, which quickly turned into this. High level of burnt out, and I literally looked like this. I showed Cody this picture, and he was like, yeah, you did look like that. Unkept, unwell, exhausted. So that's when I kind of re-entered AI. I was like, okay, AI has progressed a lot. There's probably a lot of tools that I can use to make what I'm doing faster, to kind of outsource those 224 steps. So that's what we're going to talk about. So what AI has done for me is it has really streamlined my processes. So I can do a lot more in a short amount of time with the AI tools I'm about to go over with you. It's simplified training. So instead of trying to train somebody on, if you guys saw my last presentation, that entire process and the intuitive nature of that process, I can train them on how to prompt these AIs with basic like documents and scripts. And then as long as they go in that process, that content typically does pretty well. So it's like simplified training, and then it allows me to have more scalable growth. So when I first started, one poster could manage 3 accounts, and now I've got one poster that can manage 5 accounts. So we're increasing the amount that they can do by using AI tools. So if my story of outsourcing my 224 steps didn't convince you that AI can be useful, I want to talk about these general facts around AI. So 94.5% of top content creators say they use AI. That's literally almost all of them. So if you're not using AI, you're going to be behind in some way because they're generating 4 to 5 pieces of content a day that is serving the same audience that you're trying to capture. There is, as far as using AI to create blogs, 85% of AI usage overall is for blog creation. So that's a lot of AI tools that are being used specifically to create blogs. And blogs are a great way to drive traffic to your website and rank for those keywords that you want to rank for. 75% of marketers are now using AI tool for their work. So whether that's graphic design, building ad campaigns, I'm running out of breath, or just basic content creation. Another thing that I think is really interesting is it took ChatGPT 1 day to reach 1.5 million users. And so that's what that looks like. It took Instagram 3 months, I believe. And so ChatGPT hit that in 1 day. So this just puts it in perspective of how fast this space is growing and how fast people are actually adopting this technology. The other thing is that generative AI is said to save content creators 3+ hours per each piece of content. That's a lot of time that you're saving when you use some of these tools. And then social media platforms and Google are focused more on deep fakes and spam content detection than they are on the fact that you as a human used AI to help you create content. So AI detection, what is it? What does it mean? So essentially, it is just a different type of algorithm that is being used to search content that's on the web or social media that says, hey, this content was generated by AI. The main reason for this is to prevent things like fake news or deep fakes or spam type content that comes from bots or trolls or not real people that are actually trying to add value. So when you hear like you can't use AI generated content, I'm going to go over the policies really quick so that you know how it applies to each platform. So YouTube, I really think, is the king of content creation. It's the best platform to monetize on. You can embed external links in YouTube, and so it's a lot easier to kind of drive your users where you want to go. And also the users on YouTube have really high standards. So I always take it as like the gold standard for content creation. So some of the tools that you see that are YouTube specific, I use for all content. It's just because I think that YouTube is king of content and king of quality content. So if it does well on YouTube, it's going to do well on the other platforms. That being said, you can monetize AI-generated content on YouTube as long as it's within their community guidelines, right? No copyright infringement, things like that. But there are people who make entire short animated films using AI-generated content, and then they do an AI-generated voiceover, and that's completely fine on YouTube because it makes sense for their target audience. For Twitter, Twitter is going to start labeling AI-generated content. So if you've seen a tweet and it has an image and it has like a little red exclamation point in the corner that says AI generated image or AI generated content, that's not going to hurt your views necessarily. It's just to prevent things like fake news and to make sure people know that it was AI generated. Facebook and Instagram are the most strict related to AI generated content. So when we get into how you can help humanize your content, that's really important for these two platforms because they're more likely to flag your account, like shadow ban it or remove your account entirely. Just because they're kind of buckling down on this stuff since the battle between Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is going to be releasing a new feature that when you post, it allows you to disclose whether or not you used AI to generate your content. So that is going to help TikTok have a better like fake news and spam detection feature, because if you're actually disclosing like, hey, I'm a real person, I used AI to help me create this, then that helps their like deep fake detection get better. So that's what TikTok is doing. Love TikTok for that. LinkedIn is more of, they're not like downgrading your post, but they think it's an ethical issue. And so they've come out and they've said, like, we urge you that as a professional network, if you've used AI to create like a blog or a piece of written content, then you should probably disclose that. And they have a couple of ways that they suggest you do that. So you can put like a with /GPT to let people know that you did it with GPT and then you add it to it. And so that's their general, like, what they would prefer to see as far as disclosure around AI. And then Google, so all of these things, if you do them right, should rank for some type of SEO on Google. So you just want Google to know that your content is unique and it adds value and it's helpful and it's true. So that's really what Google cares about. So when you think about AI detection or you hear about it, these are the specifics of what's going on now. It doesn't mean it won't change. There's a QR code I'll give you at the end of like people you can follow that will keep you up to date on that stuff, because it's kind of a lot to take in if you don't want to always look it up. Okay, so strategies for getting around AI detection really come down to creating value. Was your post helpful, true, unique, and if it was educational, was it multi-sourced? Meaning you either use like multiple AIs to fact check your content or generate your content, or you did some type of sourcing of that content, right, using reliable sources. The next thing is humanizing. So that's like tone, empathy, point of view, and then specifics. So specifics make things more believable. So if you have, we'll get into this because we're gonna kind of write a blog together, but essentially when you write a blog and you tell it to use like anecdotes or stories, you should replace those pieces in the blog with your actual story or third-party story of someone you know, so you can be more specific. And so you can get it for the basic outline and then add those things that are unique to you, and that's really gonna help you related to any type of AI detection. Now there's actual tools. I'm not gonna go over these for a really long time because I think if you're doing things right, you don't need them. But you can use undetectable.ai, which is essentially an AI that writes things more human-like. So you can generate something in ChatGPT, put it in undetectable.ai, and it will tell you like, yes, this is flagged for AI detection, and then you can click a button to humanize it. So you can use that, but I think you should humanize it yourself, like, because I just think that that will add and speak better to your audience, but it is an option. The other thing you can do is once you have humanized your content or made it more unique to you, you can use something like CopyLeaks or ContentDetector.ai, and that'll let you know if you changed it enough to avoid AI detection. So if you just want to be sure, you can. I don't use any of these. Personally, I just know that some other people do. Okay, so let's talk about the prompt engineering lie. You're going to hear from the KC Tech Council later today, so they can correct me on this. Maybe Kevin can ask them a question about it. But so when AI started to like gain popularity, there was this thought that the whole field of prompt engineering was going to be a huge thing. But I was actually listening to a podcast the other day that was talking about how prompt engineering is going to be a smaller blip in our history than we think, because AI is getting so good at actually understanding what we want it to do. And you can actually use things like ChatGPT 3.5 to give you better prompts for ChatGPT 4. So those are the ways those things are going to kind of interplay, and I think prompt engineering is going to stay more on the side of like, okay, how can I write good prompts for the development AI tools that are coming out, where people are actually going to be prompting specific things that are being developed or apps that are being created, because there's lots of AI tools that can now generate code and functionality for you. So I think that it scares people away. The whole point is it scares people away from actually just trying the tools and just typing in and interfacing with the AI, because it's going to understand you and it's doing really well and it's advancing quickly. So I urge you to try these things out, and we're going to talk about some prompt engineering and best practices. So I'm going to go over maybe 12 to 16 AI tools today. And most of them have like a drag and drop feature in them, or like a clickable feature that you can use, so you're not actually prompting the AI. So the only two that I'm gonna go over today that prompt engineering actually matters is ChatGPT and Midjourney. So ChatGPT, the biggest thing about prompt engineering with them is like you should go step by step. I'm gonna show you this in the blog that we're gonna create in a second. And so that you're building it step by step, because a lot of times if you put a whole paragraph, it's going to take that as one thing. And so ChatGPT doesn't care if you put like a comma or a semicolon or a colon. It just cares that you put everything in one box together. So you should use those separate prompts to separate that out. And so we'll go over that in an example. And then Midjourney actually has like an entire Discord and Reddit feed for you to grab prompts from so that you can make your image very specific. But my preference is to use a tool called Firefly, which is similar. It's just more like you give it your basic command, like make a picture of a cabin scenery, and then you drag and drop the different things that you want to happen onto the image. And so I think that's a little more user-friendly. But again, the resources for Midjourney are there, and I know a lot of people in the space like it, like the graphic design space. So here is an example of Midjourney. I meant to change this double semicolon to just a colon because I didn't know that this was just a colon when I first wrote this, so sorry about that. But so here is a picture that was created with Midjourney using this prompt. So the moon night dissolving into swirling sand, volumetric dust, cinematic lighting, close-up portrait, that's your aspect ratio, so the size of your image, and then the Q2 is like your quality. So you can go higher or lower on that, and that's the amount of time that it's gonna take the AI to generate the image, essentially, and how high quality it will be. And so those are that's a pretty simple Midjourney prompt from what I've seen, but you're giving it very specific things to do, and it's gonna take that prompt as a whole. The only way to get Midjourney to actually separate prompts, so the difference between this bottom one is like, if you put hot dog in Midjourney, it's gonna give you a picture of an actual hot dog, you know, the ones that you eat. And then if you put hot ; dog, then it's gonna give you like maybe a dog on fire or a dog that's dressed in like a cute outfit, right? And so that's how you would get it to kind of separate those commands in one prompt. And again, there's a whole, you access Midjourney through Discord, but then there's a whole Discord that helps you create these prompts to get like what you actually want. So now we're going to talk about ChatGPT, which does have some prompt engineering involved, which we're going to go through. But these are all the things that I currently use ChatGPT for. So it can create brand messaging, color, and identity. It'll also type out for you what your logo should look like. Like it's like, I want to start a company that's called Keystone, that's about like placemaking and innovation. And so you would give it all that information, and then it would give you an idea for the logo. I actually did do this for Keystone, and it did pick the exact colors that you have. So shout out to Highline. I think that's pretty cool. So then content, title, and ideas. So it can help you generate ideas. A lot of times I like to use titles to generate ideas, because if you are creating YouTube content or a blog content, your title really matters. So we start with titles a lot. That's like the idea generation. It can write blogs, script videos, it can do email marketing, it can summarize and proofread things. So if you wrote something yourself and you want to put it in there, you can have it summarize that or proofread it. It can do SEO and tagging. So there's specific ways you can prompt it to rank for SEO and specific keywords, and then tagging is specific to YouTube. Do not use its generated hashtags. That's the one thing that I don't like about almost any platform. Like if you use the hashtags that ChatGPT gives you, they're going to be random and they don't make any sense. Because they like create it creatively, and so it's not a trending hashtag. And then custom education. So like you can literally put in ChatGPT, like teach me how to sell a lemonade stand as if I was 4. And then you can say, teach me this as if I was a senior in high school. And so you can give it an age range of an audience that you're trying to speak to, or maybe it's yourself and you're trying to understand something. And so I will use this a lot, especially for if I need to understand something about a client's industry that I don't know yet. I will use that education prompt. Okay, so writing a blog. This is what we're gonna do. This process is pretty similar for if you were gonna script a video as well. So what you put in the title, like if you give me 20 unique article titles. You could put podcast, you could put blog technically, you could put YouTube. The answers aren't gonna be that different based on the actual word you put there. It's really more what you're trying to do. So I put related to childcare in a clickbait style. So you don't really want it to be clickbait, but you do want your title to be clickable. And so this helps get you to that clickable title that people are actually gonna click on and want to read. So then it'll give you a list of like 20 titles. So for the purpose of this, we're gonna do the incredible sleeping trick that will transform your child's nighttime routine. So then you're going to have it write an outline. So you have it write an outline before you have it write the piece of content. Otherwise, your content is going to be, it's going to like lack density and it won't be interesting. So you have it write an outline first, and then you're going to tell it how to write that. So write that as a professional child care expert and write it for young moms. So who it's writing it as and who it's writing it for are super important things to include when you're having it write a blog so that it has the right tonality. And so then it'll give you your entire outline. So this was much longer. I just, for the purpose of these slides, didn't include it all. And so maybe you want section 2 to be deleted because you think it's redundant and you don't need that. You can tell it. You can say remove this from the outline. And so you can correct the outline there and eliminate anything you don't want or add things you do want. Maybe you are a child care expert and so you have specific pieces you want included. So you would do that here. Then you're going to begin writing. And so you write it step by step. This is the part that a lot of people miss. But you're going to write the article in a helpful, casual, friendly tone. So you give it a tone. Tell it to insert stories. People learn best through stories. And then start with the introduction. So that's the kind of outline. And this could say video script. Like this could say 30-second video script as well. So article doesn't have to be the specific word, but you can use this whole prompt. And I have these for you on a document, so you don't have to remember them. So if you scan the QR code at the end, you can keep all of the prompts. And it highlights words that you need to insert new things in. Then you're going to review the intro for changes. Something about ChatGPT is every time, whether I'm generating a podcast or a blog or a video script, I remove the first sentence. Like even if I'm captioning something, I always remove the first sentence. I don't know why, I just always think it's fluffy and it's unneeded. So from a marketing perspective, you want to get right to the point and kind of hook the audience. And so for this blog, I'd remove that highlighted section because it's just not relevant. And then I would go section by section. Now write section 2. So then it'll spit out section 2. I'll make any edits I want and continue with the rest of the blog. So in the same way, you might say, help me brainstorm 10 topics for Instagram Reels I can write for my wedding photography business. They need to speak to brides in the process of planning their weddings. So that is how you would want to create topics, right? You want to tell them like what your business is about, who you're creating it for, and what you want them to accomplish. And then once you take the title from that, it's the same thing. So instead of writing an article, you're going to write a 15 to 30-second video script for how to create a wedding day timeline with no intro or outro because you don't need them. And then prioritize unique, actionable tips, make it high energy, fun, and casual. So you gave it your tone, you gave it the fact that you wanted it to add value and provide tips. And so that should get you pretty close, and now you have a script. And this will even most of the time generate like B-roll suggestions. And so the B-roll suggestions you can actually put into Midjourney to create like license-free photos. Or you could just give them to your editor and then he can look up, or she can look up the video, the B-roll images. So best practices when it comes to prompt engineering is give it copy you actually wrote. So this is really helpful. I didn't go over that in the little breakdown. Because mine already has it, because ChatGPT on the side will have like other instances that you've used it. And so if you've given it your voice before, you can click on that instance and then start writing right there. But you want to say like, use this writing style and put something you actually wrote in there. Or if you're not the one generating content, maybe it's something that you paid someone to write as a copywriter or your brand or your marketer, and you're going to give it that copy to be in the same style. Then you want to give it exact details of your audience. So who is your avatar? What is their age range? What is their desired outcomes, their pains, their challenges? The more information you can give it, the better it's going to be at generating these things for you. So I typically start with giving it copy. I give it the detailed audience. And then once I give it the writing prompt, I will add in any type of tonality or sentiment or voice that I want added into the content. So then the last thing is when you're captioning content, which we'll go over this more specifically, but when you're captioning content, I always say create a paragraph about X, and I'll give it a character limit. So like if it's TikTok's kind of in the middle of changing their caption character limit, so I might say 500 characters paragraph about X. So because whenever you say write a caption, it puts emojis and it puts hashtags, and it just doesn't always make the most sense because it kind of comes off as too salesy. So I typically just say write a paragraph, and then if I wanted something for like a trending piece of content, I might tell it to make it funny, and that might be the only time that I use like an actual caption statement. Separate your prompts, so going step by step, giving it things in separate pieces helps it process things better. And then the best you can, communicate the task as a question. So what you could even do is if you know that you have a prompt, like something like you want to write a blog, you could give it that prompt and say, can you phrase this as a question? And then you can pull that question and re-prompt it with it phrased as a question, and you'll actually get a little bit better results. So if you have time to do that or you're not getting the results you want, try typing it in and then letting it give you that back in a question and resubmitting that as a prompt. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the actual tools and how I use them. So this is my to-do list. So we're gonna go one by one, each tool that I use to create each of these pieces of content that we use. So the first step is idea creation. Actually, before I get into this is going to be a little dense as far as like all the different tools. I wanted to cater to like everyone, which I know is the worst thing that you can do sometimes, but like whether you're a graphic designer, your tools are gonna be a little bit different than if you wanna do written content versus if you wanna do actual like short form content. So if it starts to get overwhelming, just remember to zone in on what's specific to you, and I'll make those statements as we go because there's different tools that are better for different people based on what their skill set is or what type of content they want to create. So, idea creation tools. So ChatGPT is like my favorite tool. I literally use it for everything. They have an app that you can download now, so you can have it on your phone. This is my app. I use it for searchable and educational content creation. So whether you are doing graphic design, ad campaigns, written content, short form video content, this is a really good starting point, especially if you're trying to educate your audience or rank for some type of searchability. Jasper AI is another one. I don't use this one, but I've watched a lot of videos on it, and I know a lot of people that I know really like it. It has a Jasper chat, so it's very similar to ChatGPT. Everything we just went over in ChatGPT, you can do in Jasper chat, so it's just a different option. I know that ChatGPT Plus, which is what I recommend you get if you're going to use it, costs about $20 to $25 a month, I think. And it's not always open to sign up for. So if you're like, oh, I really wanted to use that, but the server's always busy and I can't sign up, Jasper AI is a good option as a secondary option for that. Trend Talk is an app. So this is more around creating viral-based content or trend-based content. Something that I really like about this app is it will give you hashtags and keyword phrases. They have like a TikTok SEO. And this doesn't just work for TikTok because they also integrate with YouTube, but they have everything that's on TikTok is trending on Instagram within like 2 days. So you can still use this to get viral content for whatever platform if you're doing short form content. And it will also give you like trending people within your niche, which is really cool because you can use like demand creation where you like review an expert's post or you talk about an expert to kind of capture their audience. And so it's a good way to know like who's trending in your niche and who you should be doing that with their content to kind of repurpose content. So then we just went over this, but give me 20 unique article titles. And again, this could be short form video, Instagram Reels, TikTok titles, YouTube titles, whatever word you want to place under article, and then whatever topic you want to place in there, and then it's going to generate those titles for you. So this is one I actually did for Cody's channel. So give me 10 short form video ideas for social media about neuroscience and mental health. So most of these are good. This one is not good. So some of it you have to know based on your audience. Like no matter how much we tell people they need to sleep, they don't care about their sleep. So those videos never do well. But so most of these would, like especially the neuroscience of stress, your brain on mindfulness, those types of things. So that's how I would generate ideas for Cody's content, and then I would go and script them out. So checking your ideas is a good thing that I recommend if you don't have a lot of experience in the space. So just because ChatGPT gives you an idea doesn't always mean that it's a good idea. So the easiest thing, it's not up here, but is Ubersuggest. So Ubersuggest is a Chrome extension that you can download into your Chrome browser, and then anytime you search something, so you could take the title it generated, search it on Google, and it's gonna tell you how much the search volume is for that piece of content idea. And so that should give you an idea about whether or not you want to make that piece of content, right? You want those search numbers high so that you know that the traffic to that post is going to be higher. So my favorite thing to so that's just like an easy one that you can use, but if you're really into this, vidIQ is my favorite. So this is specifically for YouTube, but it works really well for all platforms. So like if I was gonna create content on the best content creation tools, the search volume for that is only 1,300. Ubersuggest. And then it gives me the competition, which is 13.75. So the competition's low, the search volume's low, so it gives you an overall score of high. For me, I like these scores to be over here because there's a lot of work that goes into creating content, and so you want it to be very high. So you want your search volume to be much higher because otherwise people just aren't going to stumble on that video, and there is a time span for how often you want people to stumble on your video within those first 7 days. And then it also gives you other keywords, other titles that you could use, and it does a lot of things like generate daily ideas. If you use it all the time, it will actually generate your ideas for you, and it shows you what your competitors are doing and what you could do better. So I really like this platform, especially if you're on YouTube, but I use it for everything. Creator ML is another one where you can look at your title and your thumbnail, and it will tell you your predicted view rate and click-through rate. So for YouTube, a lot of whether or not somebody watches your video is based on your title and your thumbnail. So that's why I think this is so important, because if you don't check, then you're gonna make a video, you're gonna edit that video, which long form videos take a long time to edit, and then you're gonna post the video and you're gonna hope it does well. And this can give you a really good idea before you even get started, so you know, like, okay, I needed to change my title, so I need to edit my script in this way. So Creator ML is a good tool for that. So that's the idea creation process. And again, if that is a little overwhelming, you really can just use ChatGPT, check it on Ubersuggest, and then get started creating your content. So scripting content. So again, ChatGPT, Jasper AI, and then there is Trent, which you can use. The only reason this is up here is because if you've done, like maybe you did a Keystone session and you have that hour-long recording of you speaking, you can transcribe that, and then that can be your like written copy that you upload into ChatGPT so it can get your language and your tonality right for the video script so it matches you. So that's what Trent is up there. You can do like 3 for free, so it's a good platform to transcribe your first video and then use it as like a copy example for ChatGPT or Jasper. And so scripting is the same. You're gonna write, like for this one I was like, write a viral YouTube script about neuroscience and mental health, speaking to women entrepreneurs between the ages of 25 to 50. So for whatever reason, women entrepreneurs are our main people that like our content. So that's what we've just started gearing it towards. And so this will give you a whole outline of a long form video. So it'll tell you what to say, what B-roll to put over it. And I don't always use all of this, right? You want to humanize your content. But I do like the fact that I can then take these prompts and put them into Midjourney or Firefly and create B-roll instead of looking through something like Artlist or trying to think of other ones where you can get free stock photos or B-roll. This is just a little bit easier for me. So then scripting content is done. So I typically do idea creation and scripting content on the same day using the same tool. For me, that's ChatGPT. For you, it could be Jasper AI. Then it's creating content. So this is where it gets a little bit chaotic. I wanted to make sure I touched on things like static content and graphic design. I think it's important for you guys all to know that short form video content is king right now. It's the best way to get the best exposure. But that doesn't mean you have to do it if it's not right for you. So Mini ChatGPT 4 allows you to analyze an image or create a story. So what that means is that, say you took a picture of Keystone, and then you wanted to create a post about it, you could put that post up in there, and then it would analyze or create a story from that image, and then you can go back and forth with it to actually get a good piece of story for your static content. Or if you were like, I like this photo, I want Midjourney to create this photo for me, you can put the photo in Mini ChatGPT 4 and it will analyze the photo and give you aspects about it that you can then put in Midjourney to generate an image similar. So that's why I like that one. Adobe Firefly is a graphic design tool that you can use, and so you prompt it just really generic prompts. So like maybe you would say, right, like I want an image of a cabin in the woods, and then you're going to be able to drag pieces on top of it to change the way that it looks with its like GUI interface, which I really like. I think it's a little bit easier than trying to type everything exactly right into Midjourney. The other thing I want to touch on for graphic design is Spline.design. So if you like to create 3D objects, you can use Spline to generate the objects, and then you can move them around in the 3D space to create a really cool 3D image. You can also use this to build like game design worlds. And so I think this is really cool if you're in that space and you want to test it out. It's a pretty awesome tool. These two in the middle are more for video and sound. So if I'm going to edit something myself, I do have a team of editors, but if I'm going to edit something myself, I use Descript. It has captioning, so it does those bolded captions where you can give it like your brand colors and it'll bold the words that you're saying when you're saying them, which is like the types of captions that everybody uses these days. And then you can add GIFs like right in the platform, so you can like drag and drop them instead of having to look for them somewhere else and then upload them into your editor and add them to your video. So if I'm going to edit something, like say something's late, I need to edit it, I'll use that. And then 11labs.io is a software that you can use for voiceovers. So say you had a soundbite of your voice, you could upload that up to this, and then you could type out what you want it to say, and it'll generate your voiceover for you in your voice. Or if you don't like your voice, you can use other people's voices to generate your voiceover, which I think is pretty cool. And then SoundDraw.io is an AI generative music platform. So it's pretty intuitive, even if you don't know music, to create AI sounds. So the reason I put this up here is because I've used things like Artlist or Epidemic, and they claim to have copyright-free music, and that's true at the time, but then you put it on your YouTube video and it gets a copyright claim after, and so your YouTube video is getting penalized, and so your long-form views on that video are now dwindling with time. So using something like SoundDraw.io can help prevent any long-term copyright issues with the sounds because you created them. And you just give them like a mood, you can adjust beats, all sorts of like little effects that you can drag on it. I think it always sounds pretty cool, and so I like that one a lot. So in the realm of content creation is repurposing content. So if you do like talks, like say you're on a panel or you're on a podcast, and then you want to repurpose that content into short form, but you don't necessarily want to watch 56 minutes of content and then decide what you think is still trending based on what you can remember when you watch the video. You can use GetMunch. This is my top recommended one to use it, and it will actually break up your video into short form topics based on what's trending in your niche. So you just upload the video, it analyzes it, and it cuts it into like a 50-second clip, and then it crops it for you. It has this like magic cut feature, so like if I was walking around, it would detect that I moved over there in the horizontal video, and it would cut it in the correct way, which is pretty cool. Vedo.ai does the same thing. I actually use Vedo because it has a free, like 100 minutes free. So I started using that and then bought minutes on the platform before I found GetMunch, because GetMunch you have to pay to start. But that would be my number one recommended. But then the one I use is Vedo.ai, and it does pretty well. And then for watermark removers. So say you posted a piece of content on Instagram and you decide that you want to post it on TikTok and you need to re-download it. Media.io can remove the watermark from it. So it's a good way to like get your watermark off, because you don't want to be posting other platform watermarks on opposite platforms. They'll down promote your videos for that. So then that takes care of the editing portion. So then all that's really left is to caption the content. So again, I told you guys about the paragraph. I'm going to use ChatGPT to caption the content. I'm going to write a 500-character paragraph about why sleep is important for your mental health using a neuroscientist's perspective. So again, I would always delete this first sentence. I never think they're useful. So try and remember that. And then I would take this paragraph and I would add my own hashtags, which I can get from the Trend Talk app that we talked about if you're not good at picking out hashtags. But a lot of these, because I've been working with Cody for over 3 years now, I know these hashtags. But for some of my other clients, I might look it up. So then that's everything on my to-do list. Then my posters post the content, and then I analyze it for performance. So that's all that's really left once we do all of this to-do list for content creation using AI. So I gave you a lot of tools, but I wanted to show you an actual simplified process because this is my actual process because I don't use every single tool. I just wanted you guys to have the best tools for what you're doing. So I'm going to generate the idea. I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to check the search volume either with vidIQ or Ubersuggest. You can just pick one, so you'd only need 2 softwares for that first section. Then I'm going to use ChatGPT again to script content. And again, ChatGPT can be replaced with Jasper AI in any of these steps. Then I'm going to use, if I edit content myself, I'm going to use Descript. I might use Firefly if I'm going to create a static graphic. And then I would use Veto AI to repurpose any long form content that I maybe don't have time to watch. Then I'm going to caption it using ChatGPT. So it's really, we went through a lot, but it's really a simplified process that takes me so much less time than doing all of this myself. And when you're doing it 56 times a day, your creativity is not always there to flow with you. So this can really help moderate that. And then because I love content, I am going to end with content best practices. So if you watched my first presentation or have seen it, I talked about content pillars, and I think I talked about them as far as relatable content, educational content, and then sales content. And I kind of had them in more of a horizontal format than a funnel. And now that I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 months, I think that it's really important to do it a different way. And so I call it quips, tips, and clips. So quips are going to be like your top of the funnel marketing and they're kind of like your relatable content. So something that's going to reach a larger audience, they'd be things like your brand story, or maybe you're like building in public, and so you're going to share about your trials and errors, and like more of that story-like content that's going to pull people in, like a broader audience. Then you should look at creating content around tips. So actionable things that people can use for the parts of your audience that want to go deeper with you in that content. And then clips. So this is where a lot of people get this wrong. So they are going to create sales content, and they're going to post sales content as a social media reel that's shown to 96% new people, not your followers list, and they're not warm at all. So that's not what you want to do. You want to actually show like a 7 to 30-second clip of something that was your longer form content. So this could be a screenshot of your blog post. It could be one sentence from your blog post. It could be you reading a blog post. It could be a clip from a podcast, but something that you are doing to help the user go even deeper that's then going to drive them to a place where they're going to opt in for you or do something else like invest time. So if they watch this, like a 30-second clip, and then they go watch your podcast, they've invested now an hour of time with you, and so they're a lot warmer to then click a link. And so that's the type of thing that I suggest, because when you do it all front-facing on social media, you don't have any idea as much where your traction is coming from and whether or not all your links are working unless you're highly, highly uniformed, which just in the chaos of creating content can get lost. So having very specific places that you're directing people for that long form content that has some type of opt-in or how you're going to convert them to whatever you want them to do. Well, this one, virality is not always the goal. So we've had videos go viral, and it's nice and it's great and it's exciting. The problem with videos that go viral is that they typically, so a lot of people loved it, so a lot of people see it, so maybe sometimes people see your video and they follow you, but they weren't your target audience. And that becomes a problem, because then you can't decide as you're creating content and those people who followed you just because of your viral video are matriculating. You can't decide if your content is actually pushing away the good people or the people you got from the viral content. So I think it's important to remember there's a lot of hype around social media, but virality is not always the goal. And you should be able to see a return on your service or your product, or even if you're doing affiliate marketing, when you have over 1,500 followers. And so if you're not seeing a return, that's when you want to start looking at what's going on. You want to start A/B testing copy for different links. And so I try to do this in a really controlled way. Sometimes people do this in ads because you can actually A/B test ads. And so your ad probably won't convert, but you're going to get some information back about what your copy is saying to users. And so that's at the point where it's like, okay, if we're not seeing something, we're going to start doing something different at this point. So I think it's just important to keep in mind that like people iterate on their content a lot, but their content isn't always the problem. It's the end of their funnel and the technology that supports the end of their funnel that's actually sending a different message. Then another thing is focus on the why, not the what. So if I was selling, like, I think Planet Fitness has a gym pass where you can get like all access to all their locations, right? So instead of saying get access to 100 studios, you would say don't commit to just one gym, get a variety of workouts anywhere, anytime. So you're focusing on the why or the outcome. This is similar with like focusing on the problem that the clients have. So when you're creating content, focus on stories around the problems and why those are a problem, and less on like benefit selling to users because it doesn't convert as well. So that's just a key thing to remember. So that's it. You're welcome to ask me questions. This is the QR code. I'm not completely done with this list, so I will be working on it over there while some of the other speakers speak. But it will be done by tonight, by the time you leave. So if you want to save the QR code, go ahead and do that. And I have time for 4 minutes of questions.
Stuff for content. Oh. Hello.
Hi.
Twitter announced a while back that they're doing stuff for content creators. You see that going anywhere?
Like, what do you mean stuff for content creators?
I haven't read into it. I just I thought you'd be fully aware.
I am not fully aware. I am aware that they are, like I know, like I said, they are flagging AI generated content. And then I know like you can now purchase the Twitter verification, which content creators do like to do. So you can just pay for that instead of like waiting till you get a ton of followers. And then I know, like the biggest thing I know about Twitter is it's mostly engagement. Like it doesn't matter what you're tweeting, it more matters what tweets you're interacting with and what value you're adding in those tweets. So literally if you don't have any tweets and you just have a really good bio, if you're engaging, you should be able to grow your followers on Twitter.
But they're not going to get into like shorts and all that like the others.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would love it if they did because I love short form video,
Right.
but yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one.
We'll see where it goes, yeah.
As always, great presentation by the AI guru.
you.
So my question is, you know, especially with, like you said, the many tools that are out there, and like you said, you give a pretty good rundown on what the basic person should use. Like you said, for somebody that's, you know, getting into the space, you know, what suggestions, I mean, I'm in there, but for people that aren't in there, what suggestions would you give on, you know, ideas to start playing with the different type of AIs, you know, for maybe people that aren't business owners or different things like that, so that way they can at least get curious about the technology?
I mean, I really think the best way to do that is with ChatGPT 3.5, because if you do it with 4.0, you're like limited to the number of inputs every 3 hours. So you could get like a couple inputs in and then you've hit your limit, and so you can't continue to learn. So I would really use 3.5 and just start testing out different things. Like you can literally prompt it to do anything. Like I think when I first started, well, actually, this was probably Cody that did this because he's really into AI tools. So if you want any other random AI tools not related to marketing, he's your guy. But you can prompt it. Like I would suggest Googling something. The next time you Google something, take it and put it in ChatGPT instead and see what it generates for you. And then iterate on it from that and just talk to it like a normal person. And if it starts like it's not giving you what you want, you can always look up videos at that point. But I think people are really scared to just try. And I literally type the most random things into this. Like one time, it wrote something for me and I was like, make it less salesy. And I was like, I don't even think that's a word, but I don't know how else to describe what I need. And it did. It took out all of the like salesy language out of it. So just, it's really about not being scared to try and just doing it in a way that I think is really user friendly. And I think ChatGPT really has that, because there's just one line, you put the prompt in, and then you kind of see what you get.
Thanks again, Sensei.
Thank you.